Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of February 1, 2021. In terms of the stock market direction, I think Monday and Tuesday are going to be up days, and then the market will go down on Wednesday through Friday, and particularly Friday, the 5th of February, looks like a strong drop to me. At the very minimum, I think on Friday we will see significant market swings, market volatility, and that includes cryptocurrencies. And it's also going to be kind of a day where there may be the highest probability of various either accidents or earthquakes or just kind of a more turbulent events, including weather. So in terms of the Monday and Tuesday, for the US, the entire sort of period of end of January through about early March appears to be a significant time where there may be important announcements related to changes in financial policies, taxes, or announcements about earnings or losses, and especially related to companies like in the area of IT, aerospace, electric cars, telecom, social media, online retailers, anything to do with like internet and digital, data processing, even banks. What we might see on Monday and Tuesday is some sort of a reversal in either the value of the assets or direction of the trends compared to where those trends were on January 25 through 28. And there could be, for example, if there's a contract pending on the January 25 through 28, then perhaps there's going to be a reversal in a decision or a delay until, say, more info is available or until some report comes out. Or if an asset was going one direction strongly again on the 25th through the 28th of January, it may reverse its direction on the 1st and 2nd of February. Let's see, there may also be important announcements, again for the US, end of January through early February, that either affect large groups of people or again somehow are publicly announced at a large gathering. And again, this could be related to like financial policies or rates or something related to, say, actual like value of the USD. And that could be again affecting a large number of people, and the nature of the event could be divisive, where half of the population really loves the decision and half is strongly against it. We can also there may also be increased sort of focus in the news on important prominent persons such as politicians or CEOs or actors, and on their either earnings, on their assets, on their sort of financial choices. So perhaps if there's an investor, what's in that investor's portfolio, or if there is a prominent, politician or actor, how did they make their money? Are they paying their taxes? And basically, later in February, either these individuals, or it could be, I suppose, also individual companies, again, some either company, but I think of mostly individuals who are well-known, sort of popular, and there may be increased news about perhaps some financial either wrongdoing or speculative activities or some problems that come on suddenly. So perhaps this individual's wealth status changes, or suddenly they're discovered to be involved in some speculative or some kind of a hidden manipulative financial activities, or perhaps there's a sudden loss of wealth or health or problem with taxes or constraints on their freedoms, or they're expelled from some organization. Basically, there's some sudden changes, and most likely not for the best, and this could be a consequence of some disruptive activities that they may have been engaged in, either irresponsible, adventurous at the very minimum, or, like I said, speculative activities that maybe cause a large financial loss either to themselves or to, say, their company. And it may also be associated with either strong volatility of some asset or perhaps of a currency. And basically, as a consequence of that, later in February, there will likely be some stronger regulations implemented, financial regulations that would be put in place to basically prevent such strong swings, excessive swings in the future. And additionally, again, this whole period, end of January through early February, through early March rather, 2021, for the US may see also increased news about large established companies in the areas, again, of IT, aerospace, airlines, perhaps plane manufacturers, high tech, telecoms, etc., and a company or multiple companies from those domains may experience again sudden financial losses or some technical, problems with their equipment, and this could be due to those companies being too slow to adapt to kind of progress where things are done online. Data needs to be processed fast, and perhaps they haven't been adapting to reduced number of travelers, or their equipment is outdated, or just how they process their sales is completely again out of date with the current sort of pace of events. And those companies may suffer either larger losses than expected or even declare bankruptcies. And that's later in February for the US. Tuesday for China, it seems like an important date in terms of there may be possible announcements about new plans or goals for increasing their earnings in areas related to IT, telecoms, electric cars, power plants, high tech, anything, airlines, aerospace, online retails, social media, high-speed trains, anything that involves those cutting edge technologies and or internet. And there may be announcements to promote maybe some innovative developments, or perhaps additional funding is being distributed to promote or rather to afford maybe higher, better equipment, or hire top specialists, or basically somehow expand the development in those areas and make those businesses more successful. Also for China, February 3 and 4 appear to be significant, and there we may see or hear rather increased news about healthcare, veterinary care, and livestock or pets, basically animals and their care or their health, as well as humans. And with focus on like healthcare or some services to make sure that the population is healthy, and certain social services are provided. And there in China, 3 and 4, February 3 and 4, may see news about increased value of either associated, services or products or medications or treatments, or perhaps livestock or animals themselves. And as I mentioned, the 5th February 5th, seems to be like the strongest, most important day, I would say, of this week, in the sense that there may be the greatest move in the markets, swings, regardless of the direction. I think most likely it will be a drop. And the reason for that could be concerns about cash availability, greater than expected losses, lower earnings, and unexpected expenses, financial regulations, or some other restrictions. And those restrictions may be due to, like I said, financial regulations, or they could come as in the form of certain delays of either information being outdated. So maybe there is some sort of data that needs to be processed before educated investment can be made, but there's going to be delay in having the data available to the investors. Or perhaps the data will be available on time and up to date, but there will be delay with processing the actual transaction. So investors may have the latest data, they will be ready to kind of invest their money, but they won't be able to. There's going to be some problems with money transfer, some sort of delay. And that's for Friday. Let's see. And so the events that occur also on Friday, whatever the trend may be, things may go faster kind of than expected. And so if there's a regulation, it may come up sooner than expected, or if something is moving, maybe there's a contract that was supposed to be reached perhaps later, next week, it may actually be reached sooner. And the areas that may be affected the most will be, again, finance, banks, and IT, telecoms, electric cars, power plants, high-tech, airlines, aerospace, online retailers, and social media. And also on Friday, there's an increased probability of strong moves in cryptocurrencies and in Forex, especially like USD and Euro pair. In terms of general background influence, as I mentioned in some of the previous videos, the period from the beginning of January to the early February throughout, say, February 7 is actually an important kind of period globally, where we may hear about more frequent kind of number, or other greater number of incidents, such as the maritime incidents. And we have seen some news, or at least I have seen some news about like containers being lost off of ships, and also incidents that are related to again, chemicals or oil spills, or anything to do with, again, liquids, and some problems involving liquids like gas leaks, etc. Or problems with airplanes, such as, a crash. We did have news in January about, of course, there was a plane crash in Indonesia, and it specifically fell into water. And there was also last week news out of US in Georgia. There was I think it was a food plant or something like that. There was a chemical leak that killed some people and injured many others. So this will, and of course there's also increased probability of things like blizzards, storms that again are associated with excessive precipitation and some sort of too much wind and too much water. Again, to rough seas over capsize either ship, or there's some sort of imbalance, so the ship can lose containers, and those kind of incidents have a greater probability of occurring through early February. And particularly, let's say February 5, 6 will be the days to look for, where additional kind of either disasters or some problems may occur. At the same time, we may also expect greater than usual market volatility, and perhaps some conflicts or some announcements that involve legal either decisions or legal fighting, and some changes that involve like new laws, new international agreements, decisions about international travel, and focus also will be on banks, financial institutions, and aerospace, airlines, all the same, I guess, kind of industries that I just mentioned, where there may be either new laws regarding those industries, such as financial regulations, or perhaps a decision to either start or stop some sort of a major transportation project. So basically either maybe like something that affects movement by cars, railways, and airplanes, and just a lot of decisions, and again, things that will likely be legalized and made official, and affecting, again, finance, affecting any of these high-tech airlines, aerospace, and IT kind of industries, as well as international travel, and that is still valid through early February. Also from about November of 2020 through February of 2021 is a time where we may expect increased news, increased focus on industries related to like oil, gas, and there just may be increased news about those industries, increased developments, perhaps some problems could be from, like I mentioned before, maritime disasters, even oil spills, or some leaks, things basically that accidentally come up and don't go quite as expected, some sort of spike in problems, or concerns about the value of oil and gas. And after this period ends in February, we will have additional times when there will be increased news, again, most likely of concerning nature, such as, maybe OPEC countries fighting over what should be the value of, say, oil or something like that, or some sort of disaster or some fire or something affecting oil production or causing delays with distribution of related commodities, I guess, and or development of, I don't know, oil well or whatever the situation may be. But the times where we may expect increased news on oil, gas, chemicals, derived products, and there may be concerns either due to disasters, problems, let's just fighting, fires, or just disagreements among, say, manufacturers or parties that are involved in shipping, transporting those kind of goods, will be coming up in April and then September of 2021, and especially a period of April 8th through 11 seems significant, as well as September 1st through 3rd. And at those same dates, I would expect there may be also a drop in the stock market and other news that are related to planet Neptune, which also may coincide with, again, that could be involving chemicals and oil spills, but may also involve things like chemical poisoning, whether it's due to, say, spill or gas leak, or due to problems with just polluted water, or problems with some medications, or spike in infectious diseases. That all of that is definitely a possibility. But most likely it will definitely manifest as increased news about oil, gas, and chemicals and related products. And globally, I guess, through, let's say, November of 2022, we will experience on-off kind of a coming closer and separating slightly square between Uranus and Saturn. And that would, to me, indicate some sort of ideological clashes between, some entities or side that is kind of more progressive and really I would like to have supports ideas of freedom, equality, and maybe even going into kind of more radical, kind of a let's change things now kind of a attitude, and the side that would be more like no, let's keep things how they were, or if we change things, we have to kind of measure everything 100 times, and we have to make sure every safety check is in place before things can proceed forward. Again, I would say there's no right or wrong here. However, it definitely would be more of a clash of energies rather than smooth development. So what might happen, for example, positive development could be something like an innovation in, say, airline industry. However, because of the tense square aspect between the planets, it will not be necessarily like somebody thought of some innovation and it's been implemented and now things are improved and better. It probably would be something along the lines that something breaks, a part breaks, there's an accident, and because of that things need to be fixed, or there's indeed a volatility, say like in the market. We have Uranus, this kind of independent radical energy in Taurus. Taurus has to do with money, banks, so there's unpredictable speculative behavior and or extreme market swings, and Saturn kind of has to, and Saturn is in Uranus, Saturn is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, so Saturn then steps in, and suddenly again, because of square, the backlash is that there are regulations, but they can be too extreme, too strict, and too stifling. So there's this kind of imbalance, and the energy kind of maybe swinging back and forth between either really this kind of a more erratic or radical, or really kind of a crazy innovative ideas, like let's fly to, I don't know, to Jupiter or something like that, or to, I don't know, far away somewhere. And then suddenly this is being pulled back by like, okay, nobody can fly anywhere. So it's just kind of extremes, and again, there may be innovation coming out of it, but it will likely be through something gets too extreme and it has to be pulled back. Maybe something breaks first, and then because of this concern, something is being triple, double, triple, whatever, quadruple checked, and out of that, there may be a new kind of a better safer way of doing something, but it may first go through an upheaval before this the situation improves and this innovation can actually be implemented. And so we've had this period of kind of a more tighter, I'd say, square between Uranus and Saturn in January, and an upcoming this month we will have, I would say, the important period will be February 13th through March 5. Then June 3rd through 25th will be another kind of a period where those planets will be squaring each other a little bit more precisely. And the period that I personally a little bit more worried about would be, I'd say, June 29th through July 9th, where we will also have Mars kind of joining in on the party, so to speak, and that may make things not only kind of difficult, but also more explosive. There may be associated fighting, arguments, and literally fires, explosions. So under similar circumstances in the past, for example, there was a really large accident involving firework explosions in, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is Enschede in a Dutch city. And basically this is interesting because, of course, 4th of July in the US is a holiday, Independence Day, where they typically have fireworks. So that would be definitely a time to look out for in terms of any sort of escalations or even just accidents that are literally too many, people kind of going, protesting or things kind of escalating too much. And then later in the year, December 15th through 31st, and next year, September 14th through October 30th would be another couple of periods where, again, these two planets, Saturn and Uranus, will be forming a square that's going to be a little bit more tight. So those are the times where I would say the tensions, either ideological tensions or associated problems such as service outages, losses, disasters, and specifically involving either financial industry, banks, financial institutions, or IT, airlines, aerospace projects, electric cars, electric vehicles in general, power plants, batteries, etc. All of those areas may experience additional, worse kind of problems than usual. And again, innovation is also possible, but it may be like after, say, an accident, maybe a train goes too fast and an issue is discovered, and after things, first of all, maybe like the train travel on such a high-speed train is canceled at first at all. Again, this back and forth kind of a extreme, and then finally in the final stage, whatever the issue was is being fixed, and therefore there's progress, but progress through like these kind of difficult times. And let's see, and then kind of just to give you a little glance ahead as to what might be coming next month or two. For China, mid-February through mid-March of 2021 appears to be an important period where for China there may be increased focus on new powerful alliances, expanding military power, especially Navy, or showcasing military might, basically showcasing, what I guess they have, either equipment or some sort of power. And then early to mid-March for China, there may be increased news about either some power plays in partnerships. It could be either by China or done to China. And issues may come up surrounding legality of some sort of secretive activities or data breaches. And again, it doesn't mean that China will engage in it. It could be that other, partners or enemies are doing that to China. But just the issues of like data hacking or some secretive activity, something, whether it's legal or not to do something, would come up. And there may also be increased news about either expanding military or nuclear power or recycling capabilities. So basically either innovating something or just kind of making things work better than before. Let's see, globally, December of last year through February of this year may see increased news on yet again the same sort of companies such as IT companies, telecommunication, electric power, social network, aerospace, airlines, etc. And generally speaking, there may be a lot of restructuring in those areas, and the changes, as the changes are being implemented, may involve or be associated with various service outages, power outages. It could be due to just some turbulent weather, and so there's a wind and there's a power outage, or seismic activity and there's disruption in service or power, or it could be again because of these unexpected losses, because a company hasn't really adapted to the existing situation fast enough, like their equipment is outdated, they haven't adapted to more kind of a high-paced online sort of nature of how business is done. And so some of the companies in those areas may declare even bankruptcies, and or we may hear about them getting bailouts or some help or some governmental basically assistance. Let's see. For US in particular, but also globally, there may be increase on either value of US dollar and or value of gold as well as silver, and specific times where these issues or these topics may pop up would be April, August, and December of 2021. And there may be reversals in the prices of gold and or silver at those times, and particularly I think there may be significant developments around April 17, August 9, and then especially December 15th. And I think around those time we may expect like local peaks or local tops where perhaps the value of gold and or silver may reach, kind of greater, value than the month before and after. And especially, like I said, by the end of the year, December 15th seemed to be like the overall highest point to me. There may also be increased news regarding either gold, silver, and or value of US dollar around March 26, but I'm not exactly sure, how important that would be. Definitely April, August, and December will be more significant in that regard. And in terms of kind of like a really long ways away, but still worth mentioning, for the US in years 22 and 23, we will see interesting developments, definitely important time for the country coming up, where we will have kind of two different influences happening at the same time. So one would be Pluto return, meaning that Pluto will come back to the same position where it was when the US was first founded. And this is happening the first time for the US because obviously it takes so long for it to occur. And so that's quite a significant transformative time, and that would coincide with changes in like power structures, in how the government functions, who is sort of in power, how the power is, implemented. So literally like restructuring of the government, restructuring of maybe even just various governmental entities, maybe even some adjustments to the constitution. So basically changes of literally foundations on which the country is founded. It may be associated or accompanied rather by certain things being discarded, because Pluto is also like rules things like death, underground, underworld. So there may be some scandals on the one hand, because certain things may be, unearthed, or it could be literally physically, there's some archaeological discovery that hasn't been, of something that hasn't been seen since the country was founded. It could be even something literally like that, but it could be associated with literally with very strong major changes where certain branch, I don't want to say branch of government, but some entities that have been in power, I guess, for a really long time, or the way how things were structured for a really long time, may undergo quite a radical change. And at the same time, we will also have Neptune entering the 4th house in the US chart, at least in the chart that I'm using. And the 4th chart would be associated with things like farmlands and banks' assets, real estate, savings. And so Neptune can be either literally bringing a lot of water with it, so maybe floods of, say, farmlands, contamination of soil, and obviously this might affect food prices. Or contamination could be through some sort of chemicals. And again, this may affect food prices and or may affect value of real estate. And obviously we can have assets underwater, which is not literal, but rather problems with, for real estate and for, I guess investments, because basically there may be confusion about the value of actual real estate. It may be associated with this Pluto return at the same time. So obviously if there's restructuring in the level of governments and changes in the value, and I forgot to say that Pluto also in the US is in the second house of finance. And so again, if there's a restructuring of say banks or financial institutions, or how the money is being earned, or how the money is being, I guess, what is valuable, what is not valuable, literally, like maybe the value of real estate, or what is valuable in terms of the food. Now the food suddenly is much more valuable than, or certain types of foods, for example, maybe more valuable than before. So major changes which may affect specifically governance, some foundational aspects of how the country is, I guess, founded, or what it is guided by, and other areas that may be affected specifically will be finance and like real estate, as well as food production and farming. And even looking in further ahead, just for fun, it's interesting to mention that in 2025, so it could be as early as 24 through like late 2024 through early 2026, but especially 2025 is a time period where we will have globally conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, and that is a time where previously it coincided with large-scale pandemics, and especially involving respiratory kind of diseases, like the Spanish flu in 1918 occurred under this same aspect. And so this would be another time where there could be another either wave of some sort of pandemic, or some concerns about some infectious disease, and there may also be some restrictions involving either chemicals, say use of chemical of some sort is forbidden, or some increased regulations on certain medical treatments or something like that. So there's more, I guess, obviously to unpack with this conjunction. However, it's interesting also that at the same time Neptune will be getting into Aries in 2025, and this will be like this new sort of beginning, new cycle for Neptune. And of course Neptune will be crossing from its own comfortable sign of Pisces into Aries, so hot sign. So there may also be associated problems with water. So for example, maybe droughts, too much fire, the water evaporates obviously, and or water is contaminated, hence obviously there's a spike in some sort of like diseases like cholera or something like that. And obviously because of that you may need to distribute more medications to help basically to contain that. And so all of those things are related, but definitely it will be an important kind of time period. So something that will be more, I would say, either there may be some inventions, perhaps if there's a disease, there may be an invention how to treat it much faster than before. Again, there's always a silver lining, and progress is made under duress, I suppose. But also the time where, the wave, I guess, of COVID that we have right now, actually, this may be another big wave of either some other kind of infectious disease or another type of, virus or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely in the past we did have other waves of other kind of infectious diseases, such as the Spanish flu in 1918. So on this cheerful note, I'm going to wrap this up, and I hope you enjoyed this week's predictions and a little overview into what might await in the future, and come back and check me out next week. Until then, have a great one. Bye.